And I call this meeting of Iowa State Student Government Senate to order at 6 p.m. We'll begin with roll call. Senator Kameyer, Pepin, Chernaski, Martins, Miller, Fligge, Carocha, Babatunde, Schroeder, Osborne, Bernal, Quershi, Dahman, Rice, Pouch, Valley, Spock, Romare, Roosh, Marcus, Hartley. All right, we have quorum. We'll now move to the Pledge of Allegiance with the Sergeant at Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now begin with our program with Green Flags training, and I invite Brody Norton to come to the stand.
All right. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust here, make sure that everybody can hear me. I've never been accused of being quiet, but as somebody who suffers from hearing loss myself, I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Before I start business, can anybody in the room named Michael raise your hand? Michael? Any Michaels in the room? All right, this will conclude my mic check. My name is Brody Norton. I am the Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Promotion Strategy Specialist with Student Wellness, and I have the privilege of getting to come into spaces and to talk to our community about how to make people feel more seen, more safe, and more successful. I also have the privilege of getting to assist in facilitating our violence prevention programming, including Green Dot and Green Flags. Today we're going to be talking about Green Flags, which is a consent-based program that we use to talk to our community members about how to better engage with, promote, and acknowledge consent, both in relation to sexual activity and intimacy, and in other factors of how we relate to others within our community. You can go ahead with the next slide when you're ready. The first thing I want to be able to mention to you all is that talking about sexual violence, domestic or intimate partner violence, and stalking can be a triggering and challenging experience, particularly for those who might be impacted by these challenges in their personal lives. I do want to acknowledge that anybody in this space is welcome to opt in or opt out of this presentation at any time. You don't have to stop or explain to me why you might need to check in or check out. I do ask that folks that are in the room give space and gravity to the discussion that we're having. However, there's no expectation that you participate in any particular way at any given time. For those of you who might be impacted, if everybody in the room, I'll do the one thing that every professor in Iowa State tells you not to do. If you could take your phone out, please, and scan the QR code that's on the screen. That's going to connect you to the Cyclone Support website. I hope that all of you, if you're not already familiar, get the opportunity to familiarize yourself with the resources that are available through Cyclone Support. I recommend that you take this QR code, get access to the website, and then bookmark that website in your phone. That way you have access to it for yourself to either support your own individual experiences or to support the experiences of others in our campus community. We can move on to the next slide, please. So the Green Flags program is just one part of ISU's broader effort to build a culture of well-being that promotes consent, respect, and belonging. This is one part of the conversation that we're going to have today. It's likely going to be one part of a greater conversation that you all continue to have as members of the Cyclone community. I also want to highlight that myself and others in the room are responsible employees, so any disclosures that happen in the space are disclosures that we might have to address. Anything that has to deal with intimate partner violence, sexual assault, harassment, stalking, discrimination, it does have to be reported to the Office of Equal Opportunity and potentially to the Department of Public Safety. So I just want to acknowledge that there is space for those conversations, for support if you need that. However, there is a responsibility in my role to report any information that's passed on to me. So just be informed about that if you choose to use me as a resource. So this is going to be an interactive presentation. The first thing I'm going to ask everybody about is, what are some buzzwords that come to mind when we think of consent? What are some of the things that we think about? Feel free to raise your hand or blurt out. Yeah? An agreement between two parties. Yeah, that's a really good way to present consent. Other thoughts? Say again, I'm sorry. Trust. Yeah, that's another really big part of consent. Thank you. Other ideas related to or alternative to things that have already been shared? Yeah. A clear yes, yes, so clear communication, awesome. Yeah. Variable, and that it can be taken away. You look familiar. It seems like we've had this conversation before recently. Is that correct? All right, awesome. So all of these things are true about consent, that there are different factors of how we engage with it. There are different things that come to mind. We're going to discuss more about what consent looks like in our community. Just as a heads up, any of those Slido slides are going to be a double slide of the same thing, so we'll have to click twice through those ones. So the first three things that I want to identify about consent is that consent is always three things. It's always active, it's always voluntary, and it's always informed. If you have your personal mobile device with you, again, I would love for you to scan this QR code. This will take you to the ISU policy library and connect you with the policy at ISU about consent. That will show you what the definition of our community is in regards to consent and how we engage with it as a campus community. Once everybody has a moment to scan that QR code, we'll move on to the next slide. All right, so before I give away any answers, what do we think that it means for consent to be active, for consent to be voluntary, and for consent to be informed? You can pick any of the three buzzwords up front. Yeah.
Voluntary of your own free will.
Yeah, it's voluntary, it's of your own free will. Great, that's a great way to put that together. Yeah, you know exactly what you're consenting to. There's no gray area in the communication. Great. Yes.
I think active.
Yes, so making sure that what is being agreed to is understood by both parties clearly. So you're verbally saying yes, verbally saying no, making sure that all factors in that interaction indicate that you are consenting or not consenting to the action. All right, we can go ahead and fill these areas in. So, for consent to be active, it means that it is enthusiastic. That means that people that are consenting to anything, any kind of contact, whether it's a high five or sexual intimacy, is engaging with it in an enthusiastic way. They're happy that it's happening. They're happy to be there. They're happy for it to be with the person that they're engaging with. At any point in time where that is a limit, then that's also a limit to consent. That's a limit to how people should be communicating about consent and what that consent looks like. Consent is also never assumed. Just because somebody consented to something at one point in time does not mean that they are required to consent to it moving further. Consent is something that can be withdrawn or given at any time, and that includes during an act. That includes during contact. That means if running up to somebody and giving them a hug turns into a red flag or a discomfort for somebody, that is a behavior that needs to be engaged with consent. The same is true for sexual intimacy. Consent is also always affirmed through words and actions. That means that you give that loud, enthusiastic yes or that very clear no, in addition to some of the body communication that we might have. That means that folks are able to determine and check in with each other consistently throughout the interaction that consent is being given and that consent is still present even if the timeline has shifted. For consent to be voluntary, it means that it's revocable and ongoing. So we've already kind of touched on that. It means that somebody can consent to something at one time and revoke that consent at any time that they feel discomfort or that they no longer want to participate in that interaction. Voluntary also means that it's freely and willingly given. That means that there's no coercion. Nobody can be forced into consent. If somebody's being forced into consent or being made to feel like consent has to happen, then that's not actually consent. That's coercion. Without coercion, intimidation, or force is one of the most important factors of consent. Making sure that people are consenting to something that they're wanting to participate in and that they're consenting to it of their own free will and that they feel safe and secure within that process of consent. Clear communication, again, is a major factor of consent. A shared understanding, so making sure that what's being agreed to is being identified clearly between all parties involved and that consent is built from honesty. It's never built from lies or deception. That means that when somebody is perceiving or promoting that they are wanting someone to consent to one thing or another, that they're making sure that it's clear what they're asking to be consented to. You don't consent to a handshake and then tickle somebody. You don't consent to a kiss and then initiate sex without any additional response for consent. Move on to the next slide, please. Consent impacts every part of our lives, and we can practice consent every single time that we interact with others. That means that consent doesn't only relate to sexual intimacy or sexual interactions. It also pertains to the ways that we engage with each other socially. It means that it pertains to how we engage with our friends. It pertains to how we engage with our roommates. It pertains to how we engage with supervisors and work peers, members of the room in here with us right now. Engaging with consent is something that's important to all of our social interactions. Consent is a foundation of our collective well-being. Without having consent in practice in the spaces that we're interacting with others, that means that people aren't able to engage safely, freely, and in an informed way. And so we want to try to imbricate consent into all of our interactions. So the problem that we identify in our Green Flags program are red flags. Red flags are anything that devalue consent in an interaction. That can be words, actions, behaviors, or the environment itself. Red flags help us to tune in to identify that there's something challenging that space or that person or that interaction being safe. What are some examples that we can think of that could be considered red flags? Again, this can be in relation to intimacy or sexual interactions. It can also be in relation to social interactions like friendship. I saw a hand over here. Yeah, nervousness. So somebody not being able to participate in that consent conversation comfortably. They're indicating that maybe I don't want to be a part of this interaction. That is definitely a red flag. Other red flags. Yeah, disrespecting personal boundaries, taking a step above what was agreed to at any given time. Other thoughts on red flags? Yes. Yeah, can you say more about that? Yeah, so making that assumption that because something was agreed to before, or because the conversation seemed to be leading into a particular interaction, that interaction is being agreed to. We have to make sure that we are loudly and enthusiastically agreeing or disagreeing with whatever's happening in that situation. What about in relation to an environment? What are some things that could be red flags in the spaces that we interact in? Yeah, so a person isn't aware of their own surroundings, whether that's through intoxication, whether that's through a medical condition, or whether that's through an unfamiliarity with the scenario or the happenstance that's happening around them. Other thoughts on how a red flag could be present in a particular environment? Okay, we'll continue to touch on it throughout the conversation. So some examples of red flags that we might be able to recognize, that we might have even seen in our interactions with folks today, are touching people without their consent, not respecting their physical or emotional or social boundaries, victim blaming, peer pressure, and that ick feeling. We like to put that ick feeling on there because that's just that catch-all for the things that make you feel like something isn't right, that something shouldn't be happening, or that something is happening that's going to cause a challenge later on. That ick feeling is something that we are attuned to as humans, and it's something that you should definitely check in with yourself and check in with others if it's ever something that you're witnessing or that somebody's expressing that they're feeling. Red flags tell us to tune into our surroundings and to tune into our own well-being because harm could be occurring around us, to us, or in front of us. The reason that red flags are a problem is that they create red zones. They make spaces feel less safe. They make the people in those spaces feel less safe, and they mean that consent isn't something that people can expect to get to engage with in those spaces or with the people that interact with those spaces. The solution to red flags is green flags. Do we have any art majors or design majors? Anybody who knows about color theory? So one of the examples of color theory is that within color theory, green and red counteract each other. If you've ever heard of somebody having red-green color blindness, it's one of the demonstrations of this fact. So the way that we counteract these red flags is by promoting green flags that overlap with them and make those red flags invisible, make those red flags go away. The same can be said about how red flags interact with green flags. If we have more red than green in a particular space or in a particular interaction, it means that that space or that person or that interaction is no longer engaging in a green flag behavior. So green flags are any words, actions, behaviors, or environments that help to promote consent, that make people feel more safe, seen, successful, and that people know that they are able to trust and be cared for in that environment or in that interaction. What are some examples that we can think of that might be green flags? Again, we've likely interacted with some of these even today or even within this room this evening. What are some things that we do to show people that we care about them and want them to feel safe? Yeah, we reassure them. We remind them that we're there for them. We remind them that we see them. We remind them that we are there to support them. Other ways that we might show someone that we care. Yeah, active listening. Can you say more about that? Absolutely. Listening with that intention to hear what they're saying, not just to respond back with what you're already thinking or feeling. Awesome. What about in relation to environments or spaces? What are some things that might indicate that that's a green flag space? What are some things that might indicate that this is a green flag space? Yeah, that's a really good example. That's actually the first time that that one's been brought up in one of these conversations. I appreciate that. So the fact that it's in a public space, that there are multiple eyes on what's happening, so that you can trust that if something were to happen that made somebody feel less safe or less seen, that it could be dealt with and that there would be people that could attest that there was a challenge and that there's a way to overcome that challenge. Okay, yeah, could you say a little bit more about that? Yeah, awesome. So you all agreed by being participants in student government to align with a certain level of decorum and responsibility when interacting with each other and with interacting with people outside of this space. So that decorum and that responsibility agreement that you all take is a green flag. It is a responsibility that you've outlined not just of yourself, but of others in the room to interact in a way that makes people feel seen and safe. Awesome. Those are great examples. Thank you. Some other notable examples of green flags are noticing when somebody might be indicating that they're uncomfortable, respecting other people's boundaries in all interactions, not just sex or intimacy, intervening when harmful language or harmful actions are being engaged with, always being honest in the interactions that you're having and being honest about what's transpiring and what you're asking for, what you're seeking, and what you are or are not okay with. And then having a space where people feel safe, comfortable, and welcome, a space that doesn't exclude safety or a space that doesn't exclude trust from the environment. Green flags encourage and promote our collective and individual well-being. The more that we're able to engage with these green flags and these green flag behaviors, the better we're able to keep our community safe and the members of that community safe. So again, these green flags build green zones. They develop spaces that help to overshadow those red flags or red zone behaviors and to promote a healthy campus environment. They also help us to be better in tune to what right looks like. The more that we're able to promote those right behaviors and those healthy behaviors, the more we're able to better notice and intervene when we notice the red flag behaviors. So this image here helps to identify that consent is an ongoing practice and that red flag and green flag behaviors are things that can shift. I want to be able to highlight here that a red flag isn't always an indication of someone or something or someplace being bad. It is an indication that there's a challenge that's happening in an interaction or in a space that needs to be addressed. We all in this room at some point in time have engaged in red flag behaviors. We've all had a conversation where we spoke more than we listened. I'm having one with you all right now. We have also had those interactions where maybe we didn't interact in a space that made us or the other person that we were interacting with feel the most safe. And we've all likely been in a space where we didn't necessarily feel that we belonged or that we were in a secure space, and we're maybe able to identify later that our feelings about that space changed. So through our practices, through our ability to interact with consent, we're able to shift this ongoing practice in a direction that makes ourselves and our community members feel more safe. I also want to highlight here that for the purposes of our conversation today, we identify alcohol and substances as being a red flag. I want to acknowledge that this isn't an indication that anybody who has ever used any alcohol or substances or in any space where alcohol and substances that might be engaged with is a space where there are bad people or bad things. However, we do want to highlight that the presence of alcohol or substances limits anyone's ability to be able to engage with consent, and so always indicates a red flag. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So when alcohol or other substances are present, if one person or multiple people have used or consumed more than one another, are being pressured by one another or pressuring one another to use alcohol or other substances, or are providing alcohol or substances to each other without consent or knowledge, that's a clear indication that this is a space where consent is not being actively participated in. This is a space that trust and respect is not valued, and we want to be able to engage with that space in a way that makes ourselves and the people that we care about feel more safe. If an environment does not include alternatives to alcohol or other substances, so let's say you go to a party and the only things that are available to drink are alcoholic beverages, there's no water, there's no soda, there's nothing to be able to taper yourself off when you're feeling done drinking, then that's also a red flag. It's not necessarily an indication that the space is bad, it is an indication that the space needs to be more considerate of what consent might look like in the space. Pressuring people to use alcohol or other substances is also a direct impact on consent. It means that we're not respecting someone's ability to consent to any behavior, including just engaging with social drinking or social substance use. And isolating people when they're drinking or using substances also limits anyone's ability to engage with consent. It means that that person is not able to actively and voluntarily participate in what comes next. So we can see this space here, we're able to indicate that sober is a green behavior. So being sober means that you are able to actively participate in consent. It means that you're actively able to participate in the conversation, that you're able to voluntarily engage with whatever interaction is happening. If somebody's incapacitated, on the other hand, there is no ability for them to consent. That means that that person is unable in any capacity to be able to consent to a behavior, action, or agreement. Intoxication falls into kind of a gray area, and this is also one of the spaces where consent is measured by an individual's interpretation of consent rather than a group's interpretation of consent. And this is one of the spaces that we want people to be the most thoughtful. We recognize that there are going to be spaces where people are having their consent challenged, or that they might even be, knowingly or unknowingly, challenging the consent of others. When this is happening, we want there to be an active process of evaluating what the values of that space and that interaction look like to make sure that consent is being promoted. So, what are some of the questions that we can ask ourselves about the interactions that we're having? How can we check in to see if an interaction is being engaged with consent being active? What are some behaviors or evaluations that we might make in any interaction to check in to see if consent is active? Yeah, so actively reinforcing consent, making sure that it's a part of your regular practice. That's a really great way to make sure that consent stays active. What about voluntary? How can we check in to see if consent is voluntary in the interactions that we're having? I saw a hand here. Yeah, absolutely. So engaging in an interaction in such a way that you are looking for the interaction of the other person to indicate what should happen next, instead of trying to push a boundary or push an expectation onto another person. That's a really great example. Thank you for sharing that one. What about a way to check and see if consent is informed in our interactions? What might we do, or how might we see if consent is staying informed? We can ask, we can check in, we can make sure that that person is acknowledging what they are agreeing to and that we understand it together. I heard that it was okay to give you a hug. Am I hearing that right? It feels really awkward to bring up the first time that you are practicing it. It might feel awkward when you're engaging with it with people that you're really familiar with, like friends or family, because we're so ingrained in our society to engaging with things in a way that is familiar instead of a way that's active and voluntary, that sometimes we circumvent consent being a part of the conversation. I think about this all the time. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and she comes home from school every single day, and the first thing I want to do is give her a really big hug and a kiss on the top of the head. It's very often that those are two things that she does not want the second that she walks in the door. But later on, when we're getting ready for bedtime or while we're sitting on the couch watching a show together, she might indicate to me that she wants to snuggle or that she wants a hug or that she wants a kiss on the top of the head. Being able to engage with that conversation with her and check in before I just reflexively give her that big hug and that big kiss on the top of the head is something that I do to practice consent in my everyday interactions with somebody that I care about. So, one of the questions that we can ask ourselves to make sure that we are evaluating whether consent is active, is that person unresponsive, or are they disengaged with what's happening or the conversation that's being had? Those are both indicators that that person is not likely able to engage actively in consent. We're also going to highlight whether that person is vomiting, sick, or in need of any kind of medical attention or support. That doesn't only relate to alcohol and substance use. That means if we're engaging with somebody who is having a medical episode of another kind, or a mental health challenge, or a dissociative episode, that person is not able to engage with consent. We also want to make sure that when we're engaging with consent being voluntary, we want to make sure that communication is clear. Can this person give me a clear yes or no? Are they able to communicate with me clearly, and am I able to understand them? Is this person dependent on somebody else to take care of them? Is this person able to walk on their own? Do they need to be carried back to their dorm room? Do they need to be carried back to their car? These are all indicators that a person isn't able to actively engage with consent. Is this person having difficulty retaining information? Am I asking if this is okay over and over again, and we're not getting any further in the conversation? Are they asking me the same question over and over again to check and see if I'm all right? It goes past a regular check-in and goes into being a space of confusion or a lack of effective communication. And is this person confused about what's happening around them or happening in the interaction that we're having? These are all indicators that consent is not available in this interaction. So we're going to do a brief reflection activity. This is just a big question. This isn't necessarily a space that you need to share out, but it is a space that I want you to all sit and to think about for a moment together. In what ways are you, individually, just you, good at practicing consent? In what ways do you already engage with the practice of consent in your interactions with other people, whether it's in a classroom, or with a roommate, or with a family member, or as you're casually walking past people on campus? How are you good at practicing consent? What are some of the ways that you can expand your practice of consent? What are things that you can do better? What are things that feel awkward for you to check in about when interacting with another person? What's an uncomfortable factor of consent that you think it might be helpful to get to engage with a few times this week? And how can you encourage others to practice consent in their own relationships? How can you help to promote consent in the spaces that you're interacting with and in the relationships that you're fostering and that you're supporting? What are things that you can take responsibility to do to share consent and to make those green flag behaviors grow in our community? With that, that concludes our green flag flash session. This is another QR code that will connect you to that cyclone support resource that I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, just in case you didn't catch it earlier. And then this is also contact information for all of the folks that help to inform the Green Flags curriculum. Sam Shelton is our sexual violence prevention and bystander intervention specialist at Student Wellness. Carrie Geis is the assistant director and helped to inform this curriculum. Natasha Green is a detective at ISUPD who helped to inform this, this curriculum. She's also my partner, so if you're ever looking to get in contact with her, then I can help you to make that contact. And then myself, I also facilitate and help to grow this programming throughout the university. If you ever have questions about what Green Dot, Green Flags, violence prevention, or other measures of student holistic well-being look like on campus, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I'll make sure that these contact addresses are available to all of you, and I thank you all for being present today, and thank you all for participating in Denim Day.
Thank you to Brody Norton. That was a great presentation. I think especially on Denim Day, observing Denim Day, it's important to reflect on both Green Dot and Green Flags and how to be an active bystander, understanding consent, and I think this is a great presentation. Thank you again. We now move to open forum. Open forum, again, is a time for all students to come forward with issues relevant to the student body. If you're for open forum, please take the stand now. Seeing no one here for open forum, we now move to adopting the agenda. Do you have a motion to do so? Speaker Hartley.
I motion, is this working? I motion to strike 2026-1-001SA ISU blood drive debt contract as it was tabled in committee.
There is a motion to strike 2026-1-001SA. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any objection?
Then I also motion to strike 2026-1-016 SG as she is not here tonight.
Second.
All right, now move to approval of the minutes. Sorry, Senator Chernaski.
Before I make this motion, I just want to ensure, is there a member from the Skydivers Club here to talk? Okay. I motion to add 2026-1-004F.
Motion. Senator Kameyer. We now move to approval of the minutes. Do you have a motion? Now move to committee reports. We'll begin with rules.
Okay, so rules met on Monday, and we had a meeting where we chose Vice Speaker Marcus as our rules clerk. We went over some expectations for the committee, kind of going through how the setup of the year, or setup will start out in the fall. We went over the previous Rules Committee transition document, going over ideas, some things that we would like to keep up on, and any other ideas or plans that we would like to make. We hope to continue having those meetings on Mondays in the fall, but I will update as that gets closer. Thank you.
Finance.
Had our first meeting for the session yesterday, did a lot of stuff, and as you can see, one of the, a lot of items are on the agenda today, and one of them was tabled in the committee, which was debt contract with ISU Blood Drive, because they pursued different funding sources rather than student government to cover their outstanding balance with one of the organizations they owed to. And second one is baseball. They're going to be here today. And line item transfer for skydivers and GSAHM funding bill. And committee budgets, I wanted to touch on that as well, because there are only 3 committees typically which get the budget through our yearly allocations, which are PR, IDEA, and events committee, and the budget ranges from $1,000 to $3,000 usually. And if any other committee needs a budget, they should reach out to finance and rules. We can create an ad hoc budget for them, and that should be added in the bylaws. And if you're interested in that, please reach out. And yep, and one of the other things I wanted to highlight on is Solar Car Club. They also pursue different department funding, so we cannot double dip if one of the clubs, they get funding from Department of Student Government, unfortunately cannot fund them. And so one of the senators today will be making a motion to reclassify them as funding ineligible. So be on the lookout for that. And funding request form, I worked with the IT director to close that form until August 1st. So any other requests will be coming in, will be after August 1st. And second thing is online finance program. That's one of the websites that we majorly use for submitting our allocations budget and working through allocation meetings with different organizations every year during allocations meeting. So we're thinking to replace that this year. So that's one of the things. If you're not familiar with that, I've attached the link to the memo. And I expect you all to read the agenda and the memo before this meeting, as I can only see 3 people here, and in Senate we at least have 19 senators. So please be well versed with this and finance items, because these are highly important for you all to know before making any financial decisions in the Senate. So yeah, and please reach out with any financial questions or anything. Yep.
Local affairs.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, so I went to the city council meeting last night, had a good time, introduced myself, spoke to the mayor before and afterhand, had some good conversations. I'll be on the agenda for their next meeting to be sat up there with them. I changed the logo for the Ames on the Go on our local affairs committee, because before it was just like a black X. So I put an actual logo there. And then we're looking to seat 3 senators on local affairs committee tonight. So looking forward to that.
Sustainability.
Nothing much from us, just 2 senators on the bill tonight to hopefully join the committee, and just setting up some stuff for work over the summer. So follow our Instagram.
PR.
Not used to this yet, guys. Hello, everyone. My name's Brooke. A little bit of update from our socials from last week's post. We currently have over 9,000 views on that post on Instagram, which is up tremendously from previous posts. And we are looking for people to join the committee. So if you're interested, send me an email.
Health and wellness. Academic affairs.
Hello, everybody. The Academic Affairs Committee is not fully formed, but we are seating 1 senator tonight, which I'm very excited about. I attended my first Faculty Senate meeting last night. I introduced myself to Faculty Senate along with the provost and the current president, along with everyone I need to get in contact with on that front. Currently, I have 3 at-larges signed up to join the committee when they are eligible to, which I am also looking forward to. To any senators that are interested in joining the Academic Affairs Committee, I encourage you to reach out. I have some pretty big plans for how I want to utilize it, and I'm looking for people who are motivated to help out with that. Thank you.
Legislative ambassadors.
Okay, so tonight we have 5 senators being sat to our committee. The committee doesn't meet till like fall, later in the fall semester, so not a lot for me.
We have the comments from the judicial branch.
Okay, hi, I'm Abby. For those of you guys that don't know me, I served as Chief Justice, but last night we had our final justice meeting. We basically just discussed some plans and some ideas for next semester and kind of just gave them some documents that I've been working on that they can utilize for next year. We also voted in a new Chief Justice, and that will be Caitlin Hool. She is going to be transitioning as I will be graduating in just a couple weeks. And even though this may be some of your guys' first time seeing me as I was absent the first couple meetings, I just wanted to say a quick thank you guys to student government for this interesting but great experience, and I can't wait to see what you guys all do in the future. So.
Comments from the advisor.
You made it to the last meeting. If you're new, it probably doesn't feel that exciting, but for some of you, it's been a year. I don't have a whole lot tonight, just 2 things. One, remember that there is an eligibility requirement to be in any elected or appointed position in Senate, which is at least a 2.0 cumulative GPA. and to be enrolled in classes. So I'll be checking that for everyone after the spring semester grades post. I have no doubt that all of you will meet that, but if you don't, you may hear from me, and you may reach out to me first if you're worried about it. Other than that, have a fun and safe summer, and I will see most of you in the fall. I'll be here all summer, so if you need anything, reach out.
Speaker Hartley.
Motion to add Senator Bernal to the roll.
I move to comments from the executive branch. Oh, sorry, Senator Kameyer first.
So you probably didn't notice I put this up like at the finance thing. So maybe I'll go back to Brody for now and talk about this before our first bill. If that makes sense?
Okay. Brody, you may go.
You can go too. It doesn't matter to me.
All right, so just, you probably already forgot about it, but what Love was talking about with solar car, essentially we need to label them as funding ineligible so that we don't provide $8,000 to an organization that we can't fund by our PNC. So just with that, and please put this in the minutes, I move to classify solar car as funding ineligible for fiscal year 2027.
Sorry about that, Noah. Now I move to comments from executive branch.
Hello. Following Advisor Christine's notes, please do well in finals. Those things are important. You're a student first in the student government, so being a student first is important. So first of all, good luck on finals. Second of all, have a restful prep week. Give time to yourself, please. Abby, congratulations on your graduation. Olivia, congratulations on your graduation. Yes, you've been with us for a long time. So Olivia with the Iowa State Daily, Abby as our leaving Chief Justice, and anyone else graduating, congratulations. We won't see you before you graduate, so we want to thank you. So thank them, please. And everyone else. Yes, so other announcements, if you haven't filled out the MIS, or you're just joining us, please have that filled out. That gets you into the office. If you can't get in the office, let me know. We can change that and get you into the office for your office hours. That's important. Other notes or comments, you saw committee reports today. Our committees and directors are hard at work getting things started and kicked off, and are excited to contribute some of their time this summer and get those things ready for everyone in the fall. So thank you all on behalf of student government and myself. Now, I think that's been a couple minutes. So if someone would like to move to give me a few more minutes, I'll go over to the podium and give you a state of the student body. One per session. So yeah, if you'd like to do that, please. Five minutes? Perfect. I won't start till I'm over there. All right. What is the state of the student body? What is it? I think maybe a little stretched. I think that's the one word that can best describe the state of the student body today. Stretched between midterms and finals this week, or maybe last week, or maybe even next week. You're finishing up your midterms. Maybe you're getting ready or looking forward to your finals or your projects or your capstones or your deadlines. Stretched between deadlines, stretched between midterms and finals. Maybe the state of the student body is stretched between the last meal and the next. Maybe the state of the student body is stretched between the last paycheck and the next, and it keeps stretching. Maybe the state of the student body is stretched between the last U-bill to the next U-bill. Maybe your schedule is stretched. Maybe your student experience is stretched. Maybe your time here is shrinking, and it's starting to stretch how much time you have to spend with your friends before you graduate.
Maybe you're stretched by your experience as a student to provide feedback to your instructors that is quantitative, qualitative, all at the same time while getting ready to take maybe the hardest test of your life. Maybe you're stretched for time on that final coming up here. I know I will be. Maybe you're stretched between family relationships, long-lost friends. Maybe you're stretched between home and here, and you're looking forward to being home. You've been stretched away from your family for a long time, and you're looking forward to reuniting with your community. Maybe you're stretched between the morning's Celsius and the afternoon's coffee. Maybe you're stretched between where you live and where your classes take place. Maybe you're stretched across campus and are ready to take that final 15-minute walk from Class A to Class B. Maybe you're stretched. The state of the student body today is stretched. So we all have a little work to do. There's work that we all can do collectively as a group to shrink those stretches, bring us closer as a community, unite us towards making positive change, remove barriers that stand in the way so that stretching is just an exercise. And maybe the analogy there is the muscles contract and come back. Maybe you're stretched out, but after finals, it all goes back together, and you look forward to a great summer, or you continue your classes, or you get ready for work or an internship or a project or an experience where you see your family again. We're stretched out, but we can come back together, and it starts with you all. So thank you. The student body is stretched, and it takes all of us.
Thank you, Brody. And with that, we now move to external matters with 2026-1-002SA ISU Baseball Club debt contract with Senator Kameyer.
All right, so I'm not on finance anymore, so I'm going to assume that this was sent favorably or no bias, or favorably, no bias? Favorably, awesome. Okay, so I'll have our representatives come to the front and kind of talk about the situation. We haven't had this, or representatives here for a debt contract before, so you guys can set a precedent.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Brad. I'm the baseball club treasurer. This is Liam. He's the baseball club president. And long story short, we went down to Florida for spring break and kind of just undercharged everybody for the trip and didn't account for the vans that we took. And as a result, we went into debt. And then I was talking with Love and the finance committee about getting a debt contract. And as we were talking about it, I believe the contract we were talking about to be $2,000 because then it accounts for the money that we were already allocated for the trip and then also the lack of umpire payments. So that's just long story short. I don't really know what else I'm supposed to say.
Senator Sani.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry, Finance Director Sani.
So one of the things I wanted to clarify, these debt contracts are worked with a payment plan, and as you can see in the attached document, there's a payment plan for 8 semesters, and this is the minimum payment amount that they'll have to make back to student government after we clear off their debt, after we transfer that into their account. And these are the minimum payments. They can make more than that if they want to, but this is the minimum amount they'll have to pay. So I just wanted to clarify that for the good of the group.
Senator Bernal.
First of all, thanks for being here. So will you put in place or form any processes to ensure that overspending like this won't happen again or be better managed?
Yeah, so we kind of lacked on the fundraising this year, specifically in terms of last year's. But then going forward, we will be taking more acts as a club to better fundraise and kind of stay above the limit.
Senator Pepin.
two-part question. First part, on top of fundraising, how do you plan on expanding your fundraising to meet your current needs plus paying back the student government?
So this year, the only fundraising that we really did was working this Luke Combs concert here at the end of the year, when in the past we've worked basketball games, occasionally football games. So next year I'm planning on getting us back into working multiple basketball games, and then as well as like staying above like the threshold so we can pay back the debt contract, we would be upping our dues just so that way we have more income.
And second part of the question, was the trip to Florida at least fun?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Senator Dahman.
So you talked about raising your dues. What are they now, and what are you planning on raising them to?
Right now, we currently have them at 100 for the whole year, and we will be raising them just to 100 per semester.
Senator Kameyer.
Okay, so your answer to this question can 100% change when it comes to the fall. But initially, right now, do you plan on overpaying like those first few payments to try and maybe minimize the amount of time for the debt contract?
Yeah, so the goal is to have as much of it paid off next year as we can, so that way the people that are our current underclassmen don't really have to worry about it as much. And realistically, I do think that could happen for us. We get a fair amount of donations every year, and with a better just fundraising plan, I think that we could pay it off next year, but at the very least, we would be paying more than the minimum payment.
Seeing as there are no more questions, I move to closing comments.
I'll just remind everyone that this was sent favorably by Finance Committee, and then this is also a contract, so after approval, it will be signed by their president, treasurer, advisor, as well as our president, finance director, and advisor.
Now move to a roll call vote. With Senator Kameyer. Yes. Senator Pepin. Yes. Trinaski. Yes. Martins. Miller. Yes. Fliggy. Yes. Karucha. Yes. Babatunde. Schroeder. Yes. Osborne. Yes. Bernal. Yes. Quershi. Yes. Dahman. Yes. Rice. Yes. Pouch. Yes. Valley. Yes. Spock. Yes. Romare. Yes. Roosh. Yes. Marcus. Yes. Hartley.
Yes.
With a vote of 20 to 0 to 1, the bill passes.
Thank you, guys.
We now move to 2026-1-003F, funding for Graduate Student Association of Hospitality Management with Senator Kameyer.
Love, favorably, no bias. No bias, okay. So this was sent no bias by the Finance Committee, and do we have a representative here? If you could just come to the... If you could just come to the podium.
Clarification, Senator Kameyer.
Yield to Finance.
Is this for GSAHM or
Yes.
Skydivers?
GSA.
This was sent favorably.
Okay. Sent favorably by the Finance Committee. You can go to the podium. Okay.
Hello, my name is Soyeon Yu. I'm a president of Graduate Student Association of Hospitality Management, and I really want to thank you for student government and for everyone to support this student education annual allocation for our association. So this was actually my first time to apply for this funding, and we actually applied for the several academic conferences for the registrations and the transportation fees. And we found that, so the fiscal year starts in July 2026. And our first academic conference happens in July. So that's why I applied for the fundings But then I realized that the early bird registration starts in May, and it will be until the May 22nd. So that's why we need those conference fundings to be transferred to this month so that we can support for our graduate students in May.
Senator Kammeier.
All right, so I see that there is a Finance Committee amendment. So would anyone like to be yielded to for that, Love, or? Or, I mean, I can just.
He's yielding to you, isn't he? He's yielding to you.
So we made the amendment in the committee yesterday. So we had three options. Either we could just zero fund them for this bill itself first. Second was to keep that line item in the budget and they can use it for their next trip. We can just change a little bit, or even if they won't use it, it can go rolled over to student government next year. Third option was this, to actually fund them before they actually go to the trip, because it was a time crunch to apply for that trip and they had to book tickets in advance. So we had to do this like on an immediate purpose. We don't do this generally. This is not a general practice. And now, so what we did is we zero funded. If this bill passes as is with the amendments that Finance Committee made, the budget will be zero funded with the amount that was already specified and we passed in the Senate in allocations. So yeah, that's why we made these amendments to keep that. The committee decided to do that for record keeping purposes and for clear reconciliation of accounts continuously over the time. So that was the reason what committee came up with. So if there are any other questions I can answer, or anybody from Finance Committee could answer them as well.
Is it still my speaking privilege? Okay. So before I have my take on this, if these items weren't zero funded for next fiscal year, would you plan on line item transferring them to anything else?
I haven't thought about that.
Okay, you're fine. Okay, so while I understand the record-keeping sense of wanting to have this amendment, I am concerned that trying to mess with the OFP budget, especially after it's already been approved and we've done the whole thing with the big picture bill, might be asking too much and also will make our annual allocation like just not look correct. It's easy to just cross out a budget like we did earlier with solar car, but I'm worried that changing the amount might do more harm than good, but I'll leave that up to the Senate.
Vice Speaker Marcus.
So I appreciate it, and so the thing is, the finance director or the advisor would have to make those zero funding changes, and I have no problems making those changes in the budget for the organization. But it's your Senate, it's up to you, whatever you want to decide that will happen. And from my side, I have no problems canceling out that specific line item in the budget and or maybe working with Brad to do it. And yeah.
I'll just start with friendly to Senator Kammeier. For the title of the document itself, should be 003F. Oh, well, whoever owns this Word document, if you could make it 003F. And then the second thing, I just wanted to comment a little bit on the amendments. There's been no motion yet, so they're not actually on the bill. We will have to make a motion to add the amendments as shown, and then second that, go into debate on it. So we will have a chance to discuss the amendments specifically after. The first one is zero funding that line item for trip registration for 2026, because this bill is funding trip registration for 2026. And then the FY27 commercial flights, this is also funding their transportation, which will also be flights. So this bill is just, for any of you that are still confused, those amendments are just saying that this bill is the funding for this, so it will be amended on their actual budget that last session's Senate approved during annual allocations. So with that, I move to amend the budget, or I move to amend the bill to reflect the amendments as shown currently on there.
Senator Pouch?
This is a question directed at Finance Director Saney, and so the question would be, the enacted clause is that just over $1,800 is transferred from the discretionary, and in your finance report for the day, it says we have just under $1,300 in the discretionary. So would this, where would the remaining funds be taken from?
That's a nice question. I didn't notice that before. That's nice, actually. Yeah, either y'all have to make a motion to change the account to a different one on the floor right now, because either we need a different bill for replenishing the account, and we cannot do that without a bill. So we'll have to make a motion to change the account from Senate discretionary to, we can do operating or whatever y'all want to do. Operating or special projects. Yep, that'll be the ideal account for this.
I still have speaking privileges, correct? Okay. So then I would move to amend the bill to transfer $1,279.28 from Senate discretionary and transfer the remaining amount, basically the difference of the Senate discretionary and what they're requesting from the special projects account.
There's been a motion to make the aforementioned changes.
I've just been informed that we're still debating on the amendment. Never mind then. I retract my motion. Yep.
Yeah. Senator Kammeier.
Okay, that was going to be my question too, is if we are still on the amendment or not.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll again just say, like, while I understand the record keeping aspect of this, I think it actually does more harm than good in terms of our record keeping, considering that the official document is now going to be inaccurate. And so with that, seeing no one else, I'm going to call to question on the amendment.
It's been called to question. Second. Question seconded.
And can I call for a roll call vote?
Roll call vote has been called. Any objection? All right. Senator Kammeier? No. Pepin? No. Chernaski? Yes. Martins? Miller? Yes. Fliggy? Yes. Kurocha? Yes. Babatunde? Yes. Schroeder? Yes. Osborne? Bernal? No. Quershi? Dahman? Yes. Rice? Pouch? No. Valley? Yes. Spock? Yes. Romare? Yes. Martins? Marcus? Yes. Roosh? Yes. Hartley? With a vote of 14 to 5 to 2, the amendment passes. Yes, passes. All right, now we're turning to the bill as a whole. Senator Pouch.
I move to amend the first enacted clause to read that $1,279.28 will be transferred within the Senate discretionary, and I move to add a secondary clause where $555.34 will be moved from the special projects account.
objection?
I think all of this should just go from special projects, just in case there's like, because our accounts are weird and sometimes things take a minute to process, and there might be like an unprocessed payment on Senate discretionary. So if we just take this all out of special projects, we wouldn't run into that problem.
Do you want to withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion, yes.
Speaker Hartley?
Motion to amend the bill to say special projects rather than Senate discretionary account.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any objections? Now move to a roll call vote with Senator Kammeier. Placard has been called. Any objection? All right, may raise for yes. May lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. All right. It passes, and now move to special. The funding will come from a special projects account. Now I move to the bill as a whole. Call the question seconded. Now move to a roll call vote. Begin with Senator Kammeier. Yes. Pepin. Yes. Shernaski. Yes. Martins. Yes. Miller. Yes. Fliggy. Yes. Carocha. Yes. Babatunde. Yes. Schroeder. Yes. Osborne. Yes. Bernal. Yes. Corsi. Yes. Dahman. Yes. Rice. Pouch. Valley. Yes. Spock. Yes. Romare. Yes. Roosh. Yes. Marcus. Yes. Hartley. Yes. With a vote of 21 to 0, the bill passes. With that, we now move to 2026-1-004F, Skydivers Club line item transfer with Senator Shernaski.
Hi, everybody. So this is a pretty big line item transfer. There's a lot of different moving parts. This was seen in Finance Committee yesterday, but was sent with no bias because they weren't there to talk about it. But since this is the last session for Senate, then we figured that it would be better for us to vote on it here. So I encourage all of you to ask a lot of questions, as we will be, for the most part, acting like the Finance Committee about this. And if a member of the Skydivers Club could come up and talk about the line item transfers, please. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Mitchell Hagan. I'm the president of the Skydiving Club. So yeah, I'm here because I had a couple two transfers over the $500 limit. And I just realized while I was sitting here that I requested from the wrong line item, so for the big transactions. So I don't know if that changes things, because the rest of them are like $70 transfers. So there was one for $723, so I'd like to cancel that, and then the one for like $5 something, cancel those if possible. But like the explanation for the rest of them is we're at the end of the year. I'm basically just trying to get stuff zeroed out, because we got back from our national competition in early January. And so really the last thing we have for this year is selling tandems, which we are now done with. And then for the licensed jumpers, just getting jump tickets and gear rental. So the other ones are pretty much just moving all of our money towards jump tickets for the experienced jumpers, and then we'll have 2 full gear rentals for the 2 members that don't have gear. But yeah, we no longer need the 507 or the 723.
Finance Director Sani.
So quick clarification on line item transfers before you all vote on that. So line item transfer is already existing in the budget. So basically your organization requesting line item transfer means, like, if we have allocated an organization money about A and B and C bucket, they just want to move some money from A bucket to B bucket in the same budget we allocated them. This is not they're requesting extra amount on top of what they've already requested and allocated. So this is them moving money in their budget.
Senator Kammeier.
All right. Hi, Mitch. So just to clear something up, for the minivans on here, so like the 72, the 723, this is a trip you've already taken?
Yeah, we took it like this past year, and we have or we took it a couple months ago. We
Okay.
have like revenue to pay for the difference. It was more of just like, we're just trying to make things zero out.
When did you submit the line item transfer?
This one was.
Was it like just this month?
Yeah,
or-
it was like Sunday
Okay.
or Monday.
Even through a line item transfer, we can't reimburse.
Okay.
So I would motion to zero those out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine, because the 723 was gonna cancel anyway, so.
I hear a motion to zero those out.
Can I move for like a 2-minute recess while we figure this out?
We'll see you back at 7:13. Call us back to order at 7:13. Do we need additional time to recess?
Can I move for an extra 2 minutes? Yeah, I can move for an extra 5 minutes, that's fine.
Each 5 minutes has been called. Seconded. All right, we'll see you back at 7:18. Have a motion to extend?
I move to recess for 2 more minutes. I swear this is the last one. 10, you want 10 minutes?
2 minutes?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Call for,
Oh, she just motioned for 25, so I'll second.
sorry, can we redirect to Senator? 2 minutes has been called and seconded. Any objection? All right, we'll see you back at 7:21. I call this meeting back to order at 7:21 p.m. Finance Director Sani. Oh. Senator Chernaski.
I motion to strike everything that is highlighted in the memo.
Objection?
We don't want to strike it, we want to amend it.
Motion, or I'd like to remove my motion to strike through, and I'd like to add a motion to amend every highlighted item in the memo.
Do we have a second? Speaker Hartley.
I'm just curious. Can you read out what it is and what you'd like it to change it to, please? I think for my own sake, I'm having a hard time reading it. I'm sorry. And I also think, just for the sake of everybody else, I think it'd be good if we read it out loud.
I'd like to yield my time to Senator Noah Kameyer.
Okay, so essentially what we're trying to do is, because of the ineligibility of the minivan and then as well as the airplane rental, we are trying to line item transfer the remaining amounts to the per minute reservation for indoor skydiving practice. This is something that by precedent in Finance Committee this fiscal year hasn't had a limit too with our room reservations, which we would classify this under. Also, we haven't had a limit on rental equipment cost, so that's why the other half of this is going to the parachute and harness rentals. And essentially what you're seeing the money come from is the registrations for the National Skydiving Championship, which, Mitch, if you want to talk about that, if it was lower than expected or you guys didn't have as many people go, just why you're taking from that amount.
Yeah, we anticipated 4 people going and competing, and then we only had 3 people going and competing. So, I mean, that's why registration is really expensive. It was, I think, $695 plus then it was like tax on top of that. So
yeah, fair. And so as a result, that's why the funds are coming from there. And then that's essentially all. If anyone has other questions, please let me know.
Vice Speaker Marcus?
Yeah, so I just generally, about the amendment here, obviously, we all are aware that we had to take a minute to figure it out. I just want to know kind of where the confusion is coming from, just for all of us to understand better. Was it because you submitted it like at the beginning of the month and we were doing changeover so it didn't get seen until just recently, or was it you didn't mean to click certain line items, like you clicked the wrong line item? Or
yeah, so our treasurer's currently in Australia, so I'm the president right now, so I can't access like any of her P-card stuff. So there's an issue with clarification of what line item she like posted, because like when you go in, you have to classify what line item was the purchase. So there's confusion between what line item it actually was. So that's where that stems from. I thought it was originally we believed it was one thing, and then she went and double checked and it was another thing. So.
And just one final question from me. Usually line items are seen in finance. We heard that it was mentioned that finance sent it here because you guys were unable to attend the finance committee meeting. Was it just there was no one from exec that was free to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now it's only me on exec. To be honest, I was busy pretty much the whole day. Didn't see the email until about 9 o'clock at night. So that's why we weren't able to go. As a reason, like for the timing for the line item changes, is we were trying to just get things zeroed out for the end of the year, and we didn't realize how late it was getting until the like last week, and then we started getting things like put together. Because yeah, pretty much the only thing left for this year is like tandem sales and then license jumpers. So we're pretty much just trying to zero everything out and move it all towards license jumpers.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Pepin?
Yeah, I'd just like to refer a question to Senator Kameyer. This amendment specifically does what to what wording? Are we substituting? Are we striking out? I'm just confused on what words we're changing and what effect that actually has.
Yeah, so I appreciate the question. So essentially okay, so let me start over. From the start of the second page, you'll see that we're taking rental equipment. So this one was coming from parachute and harness rental, and changing that to the per minute for their indoor skydiving practice instead of what before would have been the airplane rental, because again, they already took that trip back in December, January. It was in Florida, so I imagine it wasn't very cold. Anyway, and because we can't reimburse, the idea behind this is essentially to take it to things that they would still need or like use before the end of the fiscal year. And this is just allowing them to maximize their budget, because otherwise all of the funding just goes back to us if they don't spend it.
Okay, so we are just keeping the amounts budgeted towards the club, but changing on which use they go to. Is that correct?
Sorry, just got a funny Teams message. Anyway, can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, I want to answer this properly.
No, you're fine. So your amendment to, like, let's just, for example, the first one, the 570.50, instead of going to the indoor skydiving practice, it's now going to go to the parachute and harness rental. That's what you're saying.
Instead of going to the airplane rental, it would go either to the practice or to the harnesses.
Speaker Hartley?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I guess I'm just having a really hard time like comprehending the changes that you guys made. And that might just be me. But because this is can you make the changes in different color? Like, could you make what it was a color and what it's going to a color? Does that make sense?
I move for a 10-minute recess.
No. Oh.
You guys did delete the old words, correct? Or,
There's a version history we can access.
okay, yeah.
So what's on here?
And it's in an email.
So
sent
what's
to
on here is exactly what you want it to be amended to.
Correct.
Okay. In future references, could we please keep it so we have all old verbiage on there as well, for the sake of everybody's understanding? I understand that this is kind of a interesting situation, but I think that's where my head was very much not understanding, but I yield.
Vice Director Sani?
So one of the things that is wrong, another one of the things that is wrong with this line item transfer is the FY26 budget, we only gave them 700 for the registration costs, and that will outweigh the cost that we were transferring them to. So this is not my place to tell y'all what to do, but a recess would actually help actually figure out what the stuff was. And man, please, next time, please reply to the emails and please show up to the committee. We wouldn't have been dealing with this over in the Senate and multiple calling for recesses over here, so, yeah.
Senator Kameyer?
I am so sorry, but we genuinely need another recess. So I move to a 10-minute recess.
Objection.
On what grounds?
On the grounds of, use the mic here. Objection on the grounds of, I don't like setting the precedent of we will continually over and over and over again call recesses until something is figured out, when we already made an exception to our standard of making a motion to add this to the agenda. We made an exception by sending it from committee to here. I don't like how many exceptions we've had to make for this one matter. And I'll wait for my speaking privilege for anything else I'd say.
Do you withdraw or
Do I
move to a
get to
vote?
respond to?
It's just a vote, there's no discussion.
Would you like to move to a vote on this or withdraw?
I'll move to a placard vote.
Placard vote has been called. Is there a second? Objection?
I'll just quickly explain this. Objection, if you vote yes, we will not be considering the recess. Objection, if you vote no, the objection fails and we will vote on the recess.
Or it'll become a recess. It'll become a recess. We won't vote on recess, right? Okay. All right. A reminder, a vote yes is for the objection for no recess, and a vote no will lead us to a vote on recess. Raise your placard for yes. You may lower them. Raise them for no. You may lower them. And then for abstain. With a vote of 8 to 12 to 0, the objection fails. And I move to a placard vote on the recess. Any objection? All right, raise for yes to the recess. You may lower them. Raise for no. You may lower them. For abstain. 11 to 8 to 1. We are now in recess for 10 minutes. We'll see you back at 7:44. fulfilled. We now call it back to order at 7:40 p.m. with Senator Stranaski.
Motion to table this bill indefinitely.
Point of order. You can't table a bill indefinitely, you would have to postpone it.
Motion to postpone 2026-1-004 indefinitely.
Any objection? All right, we now move to 2026-1-001J, commemorating Denim Day and Sexual Assault Awareness Month with Speaker Hartley.
Well, everybody, thank you all for wearing your denim or jeans today. As you saw earlier, I invited Brody Norton from Student Health and Wellness to give us a green flags training. I sent this joint resolution with the executive out last Friday for all of you to read and offered to have co-sponsors. And so if we could take a moment and just have everybody read through this. Denim Day is a day where across the world people commemorate honoring victims of sexual assault and observe Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the month of April. Denim Day started after an incident where somebody was not able to seek justice because their jeans were too tight. So victim blaming has become part of rape culture and everything like that, and that's something that student government previously and plans to continue backing as the university has a lot of programs in place, as well as Office of Equal Opportunity, Title IX, Campus Partners, programs such as Green Dot, Green Flags, things through Asset like Access, which is support for sexual assault or domestic violence survivors. We have reaffirmed our commitment to supporting prevention programs, consent education, and bystander intervention initiatives, as well as this resolution shall be distributed via press release by our president to demonstrate student government's ongoing support for survivor-centered resources and sexual violence prevention efforts. This is something that's very important to me and something that I know is very important to a lot of us. And so I think on a day like today, it's important to utilize something like a resolution, a joint executive, with the joint executive branch as a way to publicly announce our opposition to sexual violence on our campus and in the Ames community, as well as use the process of a program during our Senate meetings to lift up programs like Green Flags training and the Health and Wellness Department at Iowa State University that does so much for us. And I think I would task you all with sharing that with everybody, with all of your constituents, making it known that they have those resources. So many students don't know the amount of things that they have access to, and that's something that definitely is close to my heart and I think is really important that we as senators commit to as a team of making sure we communicate as much as we are possible to get those resources out there to those who may need them or who would like to support them as well. So thank you all for being so kind during that presentation and being so kind during my explanation of this bill, and thank you all for wearing your jeans.
Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, I just want to thank Speaker Hartley for writing this bill. Thank you to all of the executive people that have signed this. Joint resolutions are something we don't often do. It's something that kind of goes under the radar in student government, and I think that this is a really great opportunity for us to make use of it. I think sometimes we forget that student government does have a good amount of reach across campus to inform people of many things, and I think that not only everybody showing up, supporting the day by wearing jeans, but just us being able to pass this resolution as well as post something about it and tell senior leaders about it, tell our constituents about it. Just the ability that we have to do that is very great, and I'm very glad that we're making use of it. And so I just wanted to thank all of you for coming here today and being here to support that by wearing denim today, as well as just thank you to the executive team and Speaker Hartley who thought of this great idea. And so I wanted to make sure they got the credit they deserved. But I'm definitely fully in favor, if you can't tell. And I encourage all of you to do the same. And I would even consider bringing UC back for this bill.
Seeing as there are no more questions, may I have the closing comments?
UC?
UC has been called. Any objections? The resolution passes. We now move to 2026-1-007 SG, seating a senator to the Finance Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
So this is a seating bill for Senator Fliggy. So if he will please come up to the podium, tell us your major, your year in student government, and why you'd like to be on the Finance Committee.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Ethan Fliggy. I'm a senator for the Ivy College of Business. This is going to be effectively my second year on student government. I am currently a dual major, so I have supply chain management as well as management information systems within the Ivy College of Business. Looking forward to probably adding a third major. It's yet to be decided. We'll find out. But yeah, anyway, reason I want to be on Finance Committee is because I'm a very analytical guy. I like dealing with money. I like dealing with numbers. So yeah, I'd open it for questions, comments, concerns, anything. Don't mind the
Senator
haircut.
Bernal.
It's horrible.
I know with like previous people, this question's been asked, and I don't know how to word it the best, but would you be prepared to say no to organizations that may be seeking money?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, without a problem.
Senator Kammeier.
Sort of a different version of that question. When you see a budget, such as maybe the one we just looked at, that has a lot of flaws with it, what are things that kind of go through your mind? Maybe not in trying to like fix it, but in evaluating it in terms of what maybe we should fund, shouldn't fund, and priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the first thing that I would look at would be definitely, at least in terms of the bill that we just were talking about, would just be how much communication was actually done beforehand and how much communication, coulda, the woulda, coulda, shouldas of the entire thing. I think that's very important. But then if there was a lot of communication beforehand and it was just something that somehow made it over everyone's head, then it would just boil down to what's the process that we're going through to actually look at a bill? What's the process of us going through it and actually saying, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is bad? What does that process look like? Are we going to refine it? And how are we never going to do that again? Type of deal.
Senator Chernaski.
It'll be great to work with you. I'm excited to have you on the committee. My question to you is, have you looked at the PNC at all yet?
No, I have not. I've had very little time these past few days.
Fair enough. Well, we'll have a lot of time to look at it.
Awesome, yeah.
Seeing as there are no more questions, we now move to closing comments.
Placard.
Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. You may now raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Fliggy. We now move to 2026-1-009 SG, seating a senator to the Finance Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so this will be for Senator Carocha. I'm sorry, I'm learning. But yeah, please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you want to be on Finance Committee.
Hello, everybody. My name is Calder Carocha. I'm a new senator here. I'm a sophomore studying management in the Ivy College of Business. reasons why I'd like to be on the finance committee. So obviously, being a part of the business college, I've taken several finance classes already. Finance is something that interests me. Yesterday, I attended the finance committee meeting. While not being seated, I was just observing, and I kind of got to see how it functioned. Some other things about me: I work for Iowa State, a part of the operations and finance building in Beershire. So I've got some connections as well as some experience working in finance, as well as I've got some wonderful mentors and people in that sector of my life. And another thing about me is I love asking questions. So being a new senator, I've got a lot of questions, but I am going to ask them. I'm going to learn. There's a lot of things I don't know about the Finance Committee, but already a lot of you guys have been really helpful in helping me get adjusted as a new senator, as well as Love for helping me with the Finance Committee and just overall being a Ivy College of Business senator. So, open for questions.
Senator Martins.
Just a question that's been asked before and asked in the past. Just, how comfortable are you with saying no and to bills that you think are not for the betterment, maybe, and how do you plan to evaluate that and make that decision?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Recently, I spoke with Vice Speaker Marcus, and he informed me just a little bit about the Finance Committee and where they're at with budget, and just kind of familiarizing and answering some of those questions. He said that, working at a deficit, you're going to have to say no to things, and what I told him was, I love saying no. It's more fun that way. So, not saying I'm going to say no all the time, but I think it's important to say no, and it's, quite frankly, a little easier to say yes to everything else. So, yeah.
Great answer.
Seeing as there are no more questions, and I move to closing comments.
Thanks for that. Placard.
Placard has been called. Is there any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Calder.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-01 seating a senator to the Academic Affairs Committee with Speaker Hartley.
Okay, this is seating Senator Corshi to the Academic Affairs Committee, and I've spoken to Director Rankin, and he's very excited to have her. So if you'd like to share your major, year in student government, your name, and why you'd like to be on the committee, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Kwashi. I am a fourth-year PhD candidate from the Department of Civil Engineering, and I am also a senator for SUV. I think this is my second semester. I don't know if it's but this is my second time working with student government. I'm here to talk about why I'm interested in the Academic Affairs Committee and why I think I'll be a good addition. So over the past few weeks, actually, I've been working with the committee informally, and I had the opportunity to contribute to discussions and even write a resolution to encourage more instructor feedback on students' academic performance, which was really cool. And based on that experience, I've learned how powerful the Academic Affairs Committee is in shaping students' academic experience and success. And I would like to continue working on that. Beyond that, I've also been actively involved in our Graduate Student Council for the past 3 years. And in that role, I have helped organize our annual student research showcase and poster competitions, as well as industry workshops and social events. These experiences have strengthened my ability to collaborate, plan, and support initiatives that enhance academic experience and professional advancement of students from my department. And last year, I also had the opportunity to serve on our department's student recruitment committee, where I contributed to conversations on improving graduate student enrollment in our department. Currently, as you all know, I'm working on the NAPOD project, which also focuses on student well-being and academic performance. And this project has been specifically interesting and meaningful because it has highlighted the connection between students' support systems and academic success. And all these things I've been involved in just shows my interest in students' academic success and any initiative that work towards improving those experiences for students. And I am excited to have the opportunity to be able to work with the Academic Affairs Committee whilst we are still working on developing our priorities and what projects and initiatives we would like to work on, because this is a new committee, as we all know. And yeah, I look forward to working with Director Rankin and other members to identify what students need and develop initiatives that enhance the academic experience and performance for all students. While I don't have any projects in mind right now, but one area that I am interested in exploring and learning more is expanding opportunities for undergrad students to engage in research with faculty. I'm currently mentoring one undergraduate student on my research, and I know Director Rankin shared, I think, last week on his experience as well, working with grad students on their research. And I think this is a powerful way that students can enrich their academic experience. So I want to look more into that and see if there are ways that we can improve those opportunities and expand them for students. That being said, yeah, I'm looking forward to your support and consideration, and I'm excited to be a part of the people that lay a good foundation for this committee and their work in the future. Thank you.
Senator Kammeier.
I don't really have a question. I just thank you for the speech. It's really all-encompassing and shows how great of a candidate and how much great work you'll do on this committee. So I will yield.
Senator Romare.
Motion to remove Senator Kurocha from the roll.
Vice Speaker Marcus.
I move to remove Speaker Hartley from the roll. And then call the question.
Then call the question and seconded. How'd you like to vote? Placard has been called. Any objection? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Amanda.
Thank you.
Vice Speaker Marcus. We now move to 2026-1-011 seating a senator, the Sustainability Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus. Oh, sorry, Senator Bernal.
Motion to remove Senator Miller from the roll.
Now, seating a senator, Senator Valley, already knew it was her. Yeah, please share with us your major, your year in student government, and why you want to be on this committee.
Hello, I'm Emma Valley. I'm going to be a senior in electrical engineering with a minor in mathematics, and this will be my second year in student government and my second term within the Sustainability Committee.
Senator Martins.
I just wanted to ask, being on this committee last time as well, if there's any potential project ideas that you have, and then I have one more question after that.
I haven't had any time to think of potential ones I want to do. I have a really heavy semester with 23 credits, so.
And then I guess my second question would be, if you could be one bug, what would you be?
I'll stick with my answer from last time. I'll be a hornet.
Seeing no more questions, I move to closing comments. Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Senator Valley.
Thanks, guys.
We now move to 2026-1-012 SG, seating a senator to the State Sustainability Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so this bill is for Senator Roosh. And will you please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you would like to be on Sustainability Committee?
Hello, my name is Kyle. I'm a junior in mechanical engineering. This is my second ever meeting as student government. So far, I'm liking it. And I want to be a sustainability because my passion is the water fountains. I do believe in automatic water fountains for just a more modern campus and just for a better look all around. And I'm eager to help those in the committee for whatever projects they want to do. I'm open for questions.
Senator Bernal.
This is kind of a lighthearted go-to question for anybody in sustainability. If you could be a plant, what plant would you be?
Oh, no. Sunflower.
Been called the question and seconded. How would you like to vote? Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. And any abstentions? Congrats, Senator Roosh.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-013 SG, seating a senator to Local Affairs Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so Senator Pouch is coming up to the podium. Please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you want to be on Local Affairs Committee.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Grant Pouch. I'm a sophomore in community and regional planning with minors in sustainability and political science. This is my first term in student government as an off-campus senator. I think it's really important that I'm on the local affairs committee for two reasons. First and foremost, as an off-campus student senator, it's really important that I'm able to support everybody who's not under the jurisdiction of the university, and that's what this committee primarily focuses on. Additionally, I think it's really important that on a local level, our city government is supporting students just as much as they're supporting everyone else. I mean, if you look at the population of Ames, it's about even students to other residents in Ames during the academic year, and so it's really important we consider students and their needs. And then beyond that, also, I think it's great that my major is community and regional planning. Basically, that means that I work city to federal level in terms of planning efforts and trying to make sure that we support everybody through our actions. And so just being able to kind of use my expertise in that area to influence the decisions of the committee and provide useful input will be really important for me. So I'm open to any questions that you all might have.
Senator Bernal.
Right now, do you have like a main, I don't know if goal or like project would be the best idea in mind for your work in local affairs?
Yeah, for sure. So one very small thing that I noticed this weekend, I was going to Target and I wanted to go over to Walmart, and there's no sidewalk between Target and Walmart on Duff, so that's a very small thing. But beyond that, something that I wanted to look into, this was a shock. The last 2 years I've lived in the dorms, and when I went to sign my lease here in Ames, I realized there's occupancy limits. You can only have one adult per bedroom, and obviously there's a reason for that. And I could probably guess a multitude of different reasons, whether it be safety, whether it be supporting landlords. But one of the things I also realize is that doesn't work for a lot of students. That drives up housing costs just by nature of you having to pay Instead of, a quarter of the, or instead of paying 20% of the rent, you have to pay 25% of the rent. That's a big increase for a lot of people, especially when you're living in a house or apartment. And so I think that's one project I want to kind of collaborate with the city council and also kind of make some recommendations for them on how we can support students better through housing, because that is a huge burden pretty much across the board for students. So yeah, that's a project I want to work on.
Senator Valley?
If you were a downtown restaurant, what
Oh.
restaurant would you be?
That's a fantastic question. Admittedly, I don't go to downtown names too much. However, the last time I was there, I don't remember the exact name of the deli, but it was really quite good. It was just a nice experience to have that kind of downtown space. Also, I don't exactly remember the name again, but the coffee shop on the north side of the street closest to the power plant was really good and really bougie, and I really appreciated that. So definitely either that one or the sandwich shop.
Seeing no more questions, I move to closing comments. Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Pouch. With that, we move to 2026-1-014 SG, Seating and Senators and Local Affairs Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so this one will be for Senator Dahman, and please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you want to be on Local Affairs Committee.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Ben Dahman. I'm a sophomore studying mechanical engineering. This is my second year in student government. Last year as a residence hall senator, this year as the Frederickson Court senator. And so I was on local affairs for the past year, and a project I want to continue working on that started last year was creating a SIRAD how-to guide. That kind of fell through last year. I wanted to try to make that happen this year.
Senator Kammeier?
Okay, super serious question, because I think Grant just failed it. If you could be any downtown restaurant, what would you be?
How did Grant fail? Okay, I guess my restaurant in Ames is Cornbread.
Okay, real answer, thank you. Sorry, okay. So, actual question. So, you're transitioning from being a senator under a committee run by Emily, who was there it was her second year, and you now will have Trey, who's brand new as ex officio. What will be some of the things, not saying that you have to take a leadership role or anything in transitioning the committee, but some of the things that you'll have as someone who's been on the committee before?
Well, I do believe I'll be one of the maybe two returning to local affairs from last year. So I think helping Trey with how Emily ran it last year and how that could be improved and stuff like that.
Seeing no more questions, now I move to closing comments. Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now rise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Senator Dahman. With that, we move to 2026-1-015 SG, Seeing as Senator Local Affairs Committee with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys are getting tired of hearing me, but please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you want to be on this committee.
All right, well, good evening. After plenty of recesses, I'm glad we're back. My name is Colton Pepin. I'm currently a sophomore. This is also my second meeting. Currently majoring in animal science with an emphasis on pre-veterinary medicine with minors in political science and biology. I come from a small 1A school in western Iowa in the middle of nowhere. So that means there's 44 kids that I graduated with. And at the same time, I can currently serve as the NHS president, student council president, FFA president, 4-H county council president, and the president of the yearbook. So that means I got to touch a lot of people with connections at a local level, at a school level, at a school board level, sitting on meetings and being able to provide opinion. I'm here to learn. Obviously, I've never done this before, so I want to learn from people that know what they're doing, and I want to make some sort of impact and bring the knowledge that I have from my small little town in western Iowa to this committee. So, any questions?
Speaker Hartley.
Well, I think that's great as somebody who's also from a small town in Iowa. I understand that you're here to learn, and I think that's great. Do you have any preliminary ideas for what you'd like to see from the Local Affairs Committee this year, or any ideas of your own?
For sure. I think I would just probably broad topic it. I think safety is a big thing that I'd like to focus on, but also making connections. I really don't know much of the Ames. I'm not being from Ames. Part of the city council. So I'd like to be able to connect with those people and develop a relationship that is usable towards getting things done that we want to do. And I would like to take advice from people that have been in this role to help them with those projects. I would like to know what I do in the role before I decide making any like action items to execute. So maybe I'll answer your question next term or next session.
Vice Speaker Marcus.
Just because I want us to be fair to all of our candidates today, what downtown restaurant would you be?
Sweet Caroline's. I'm always here for a good time.
Seeing no more questions, we now move to closing comments. Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes.
That's kind of what I thought.
You may lower them. Raise for no. Abstain. Congrats, Senator Pepin.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-017 SG, seating as senators for the Health and Wellness Committee with Speaker Hartley.
I didn't realize how many of the people that didn't come tonight were the bills I wrote. But, so this bill will be seating Senator Babatunde to the Health and Wellness Committee. If he would like to go up and share his major, his year in student government, and why he'd like to be on the Health and Wellness Committee. Director Gearhart is not here, but I've spoken with her, and she's very excited to have him on the committee.
Hi, I'm Philip Babatunde, and this is my 4th year in grad school, so I'm a PhD student, and I'm at the College of Veterinary Medicine. So the main reason why I want to join the committee, I'm a veterinarian, and I'm not joining this committee to talk about pets. So the reason why I want to join this committee is to work on student wellness, and also to kind of bring some health initiatives to the group or to the committee as well, and also to kind of see how we can probably help students, maybe during the exams and the rest like that, just to contribute to the academic success of students. So that's just the main reason why I want to join the committee. And based on my previous knowledge as a veterinary doctor, so I think I should be able to bring something to the table.
Senator Bernal.
First, I'm going to have a question out of pure interest. Are you going to work on large animals or small animals? Usually they're split into one of those two.
So during my veterinary school, I worked on large animals, and during my master's too, I worked on large animals, but I prefer small animals.
Okay, now on to my actual question. Do you have any preliminary plans for what you want to work in health and wellness?
So this is my first year, and I would say probably this is my 3rd meeting at the Senate. So I've not really met with people like that, probably to discuss on how things work here. But definitely, I also have some of my plans too, in place.
Seeing no more questions, we now move to closing comments.
Placard vote.
Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Babatunde.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-018 SG, seating a senator to the Health and Wellness Committee with Speaker Hartley.
Somehow, one of the two seating bills that I wrote for tonight, this bill will be seating Senator Martins to the Health and Wellness Committee if he'd like to go up and share his major year in student government and why he'd like to be on this committee. Once again, Director Gearhart is very excited to have him on Health and Wellness.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Ian Martins. I'm currently a junior studying aerospace engineering. And I want to be on the Health and Wellness Committee just because I'm an engineer. And so I've done a lot just through my time here prioritizing my mental health, whether that be resources and that the school has or just my own personal methods. And I've made it a priority as well, like going to the gym and stuff is kind of one of my coping. So I'd love to be on this committee just so I can encourage everyone to use these resources, be aware of them, go out and then go out and try to support everyone the best that I can. So I'll take any questions.
Senator Valley.
What is your favorite health resource that Iowa State provides its students?
Yeah, so just a big overall thing for me is like gym use. I like to go to the gym a lot. Gets my mind free, but then they also have like helplines that you can reach out to if you need, if you just need someone to talk to or anything like that. And so I think that's a really great resource.
Senator Chernesky.
Do you have anything in particular that you want to work on with the committee?
Yeah, I think last semester, or this semester, but a couple of months ago, it was really great. Senator Graybill brought in a speaker, and he spoke a bunch about mental health and how he dealt with it and stuff. So I think it'd be really great if we can get some rolling, keep that going into fall and maybe spring next semester. But then other than that, I've had the opportunity to talk to some mental health professionals from Mary Greeley Hospital. So I think using those connections to see if there's anything we can do to better improve our programs and stuff would be really useful. So.
And then my second question is a lot more lighthearted. If you were a health concern, what health concern would you be?
I'd probably be no health concern because that's bad.
Seeing no more questions, and I move to closing comments.
Placard vote.
Placard vote's been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any objections? Congrats, Senator Martins.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-019 SG, seating as senators to legislative ambassadors with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Please hang with me, guys. I have 5 of these. This one is for Senator Romari. So please tell us your major year in student government and why you want to be on legislative ambassadors.
I'm a political science, criminal justice double major. I got sat to student government in February this year, so I guess about a third, we'll say, so a year and a third is what I have under my belt. But yeah, I want to be a legislative ambassador. I've clerked at the Capitol for 2 years now. I've worked for a lot of these legislators. I've worked on their campaigns. I've built really good relationships with a lot of them. I've been to their houses. I have very good relations with legislators on the federal, state, and local level here in Ames. So I think that would be a great addition to this, and I'm really excited.
Senator Rice.
I really appreciate your experience. I think that's going to bring a lot of benefit to the committee. I'm sure you know more than anything that the legislators that you're talking to don't have a lot of time. So the points that you're trying to make and advocating for students, you have to do it quickly. So I guess kind of what's your way that you want to go about trying to spread the message and spread the importance of it with such little time? that you get in front of these senators and representatives.
This is going to be an extremely cold take, but I think that these senators and representatives do have the time. They just need to prioritize their things right. And I think that, sorry, I just repeat myself there, but I think that I could get that across to them that, like, I need to talk to you, let's talk. And I think that the majority of them would realize that this is a serious and means something to me. So I think that they would be willing to spend that extra 5, 10, 20 minutes with me to talk about anything, really.
Seeing no more questions, and I'm with closing comments. Placard's been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Romare. We now move to 2026-1-020 SG, seating a Senator Legislative Ambassadors with Vice Speaker Marcus.
So we've already seen this senator tonight, so maybe tell us why you want to be on this committee and any project ideas you might have or any goals you would want to push on this committee.
Sure, yeah. So with my experiences in the FFA, served as a state officer for the Iowa FFA 2024-2025, representing over 20,000 members-ish, and I've also had the opportunity to be at our state legislator and also the national legislator, along with being PR trained by the Farm Bureau. I've met with Senator Grassley. I've sat in Ernst's chair accidentally in her office in D.C. I've walked in randomly to Coroner's office in the Capitol in Iowa just to film a video with her. So I have a lot of connections within the legislature as well, and I think it's important to have those connections before you can before you can create any type of ideas that you want to execute. And to just follow up and answer the question that she's probably about to ask me, you have very little time with anyone in that building, which I know 100%. You either have to schedule something or you have to have their Snapchat and be friends with them or with their daughters, and there's a couple of them in there that I've showed cattle with. So I do have some of those connections. Key points you have to emphasize is the best way I've been told to get into a senator's head or a representative's head is to tell a story that means something to you, and that means something to your community. And if you can represent what you want to bring across within a story, it's going to mean a lot more heartfelt to them than just a bunch of statistics that fly over someone's head. That's what the Farm Bureau teaches us anyways. So I'm open to doing anything and representing the student government at any level. Once again, we're here to learn.
Seeing no questions, I'm with the closing comments. Placard's been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may now lower. Raise for no. Any abstain? You may lower. Congrats, Senator Pepin.
Thank you very much.
We now move to 2026-1-021 SG, seating a senator to legislative ambassadors with Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so this one is for Senator Bernal. Please tell us your major, year in student government, and why you want to be on legislative ambassadors.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Bernal. I am currently triple majoring in agricultural business, agricultural policy studies, and economics. And I guess technically this is my second year if you count it by terms. But I'll just kind of approach legislative ambassadors from this. Right now, as I know, I would be the only, other than the director, be the only returning members of legislative ambassadors. And one of the big things about legislative ambassadors is that your priorities kind of stay the same from year to year. You have to try and keep on advocating for them until you basically get a definitive yes or no with them happening. So one of the big things I just want to bring back to the committee is that I understand the two priorities right now, and I would love to also possibly work to expand it to a third priority. So one of the biggest things, and Senator Pepin actually kind of talked about it, was how to approach somebody and kind of how we did that during my time in legislative ambassadors. Usually, It was about, give or take, 5 to 10 minutes with each either state representative or senator. And usually the way we would approach it is we'd have both priorities, but we'd identify, first of all, what committee they're in that kind of stacks the priorities by importance. So, for example, I met with, during the Iowa State Day on the Capitol, I met with Senator Warmy. She sits on the, it was one of the health committees, but we had our mental health priority. So, of course, we approached her with that one first over the Iowa Workforce Grant. We try and tell a story. Personally, for me, with Iowa Workforce Grant, I'm an out-of-state student, and since one of our priorities is expanding that to out-of-state students, I kind of told them one of the big reasons, of course, I came here was that I was able to attain a high-quality education for a lower cost than most states in California. So, open to any questions. Nothing?
Seeing no questions, we now move to closing comments. Clock, your vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Bernal.
Thank you.
We now move to 2026-1-022, seating of Senator Legislative Ambassadors, Vice Speaker Marcus.
So we've also already seen this senator tonight, so please tell us why you want to be on legislative ambassadors, and then maybe any goals you'd be looking to push this year.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned before, I'm a community and regional planning major, and so one of the things that we have to focus on in our discipline is governments and their policies at all levels. And so there's federal things, state things that affect our communities and that especially affect our students. And so looking at it, having mental health funding and the Iowa Workforce Grant eligibility being the two major projects right now, I think those are both very good. Obviously, mental health is an issue that will never fully go away, but I think it's something that we can always be working toward improving, and that's really great. I guess one of the projects that I really want to see is kind of demystifying the fact that I feel like as a student and as actually a resident of Iowa myself, something I feel is that oftentimes there's not exactly the feeling that like I would know how to actually make meaningful influence on my legislators, right? Be completely honest with you, I don't know who the legislator for my hometown is, and so being able to have more people be able to understand that, I think that's something that brings legislative ambassadors from just being something we do at the state capitol and just being something we do to try to influence DC. It's something we bring it back to Ames and help people understand, okay, here's who your representatives are, and here's how you can contact them, and here's what we can do for you, kind of like the other appointees we're talking about, to really make a real difference in their days and kind of influence them in that way. And so just being able to meet those people, have those conversations about how they can be supporting students better, really, because ultimately the goal of our government should always be, the goal of the government usually is to keep people in state after they graduate, and if you want to do that, you actually have to work for your students. So yeah, I'm open to any questions about any of that.
Seeing no questions, we now move to closing comments. Plaque, your vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Pouch. We now move to 2026-1-023 and seating a senator to, guess what? Legislative ambassadors with Vice Speaker Marcus.
All right, so please tell us why you would like to be on this committee and any goals you might want to push for this year.
Yeah, so the reason I want to join Legislative Ambassadors is to help in the state capitol with our priorities, with the mental health priorities and the workforce grants. I'm an out-of-state student from Minnesota. I would love to see the workforce grants be expanded to help out-of-state students stay here in Iowa. So yeah, I'm open to any other questions.
Senator Bernal.
Other than working on the priority set currently, do you have any other, I would say, ideas or preliminary ideas?
Not off the top of my head right now, no.
Seeing as there are no more questions, we now move to closing comments. Placard vote has been called. Any objections? You may now raise for yes. You may lower them. Raise for no. Any abstain? Congrats, Senator Dahman. Seeing as there's no new business, we now move to closing announcements. As a reminder, closing announcements is a time for any member of student government to share information that is for the benefit of the group. Senator Kamier.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and enjoy your summers.
Vice Speaker Marcus.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody, weekly reminder to do your office hour this week if you have not. Last chance to do it will be Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I will be sending out reminders tomorrow like usual. Prep week and finals week, there are no office hours. We do not meet. There's nothing required of you for that week other than to do your best as you can on finals. And there will be a couple of working meetings at beginning of the fall. Just want to prepare you all for that. You'll probably forget over summer, and then you'll come back and you'll be like, oh, right. But we will have a couple, probably even the first 2 to 4 meetings will all be working meetings and then Senate meetings.
Speaker Hartley.
Thank you all for a lovely first session. Very excited to continue in the fall. Just as you're going through prep and finals week, be sure to prioritize your mental and physical health. We have, as earlier we noted, great resources here on campus, as well as our lovely advisors who are here to help you. I know all of them are very, very okay with you reaching out whenever for any help you may need, so please be sure to utilize those resources. And once again, I would just like to thank our lovely daily writer for her very strong commitment over this past year and congratulate her on her graduation. So thank you. And then, yeah, just over the summer, if anybody has any questions or any projects they're working on that they need help, please feel free to reach out to me on Teams. I'm not going to be in the country, but I will definitely still be responding on Teams. So very much looking forward to working with all of you in the fall. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. See you in session 2.